In Consumer Corner, we take a look at trends creating a buzz here in China. On today's show, we'll discuss fines for having more than one child in China. The one-child policy was carried out in 1979 after a population boom. This policy has been implemented for about 30 years as of today. In recent years, an increasing number of voices have called for an end to the old one-child policy. This has come from prominent figures both in and outside of the government, so it's getting more consideration than before. One of the major points behind the argument is that China's economy has grown fast, and so has most of Chinese people's living standards. So now a growing number of parents believe they have the means to take care of two or more children. The normal cry for changing the rule is based on humanitarian principles, but it's believed that an economic argument is more persuasive to the Chinese government. Since an economic argument is being made, there are also economic counter-arguments being used to stop it. A number of voices are concerned that a change would lead to a huge rise in the number of births. The government's data showed that in 2013, the working age population ranged from 15 to 59 years old is about 937 million people. This is a decrease of about 3 million people from last year. The aging population is expected to top 200 million by 2015 and 280 million by 2025. It indicated that too few adults of a working age have to support their elders. This prolongs the retirement age, as the younger generation will have to take on all financial burdens of the family and sometimes extended family. In order to control a fast-growing population, the Chinese government imposed fines on those who violate the one-child policy. The fines have been very controversial for years, because of issues related to freedom of choice and control of one's own body. News related to forced abortions and wealthy people having multiple children have inflamed the debate. In the past few days, the fines have become a trending topic. Chinese media released that in 2012, the fine, which is also known as a social compensation fee, has totaled more than $2 billion in 17 provinces. The strange thing is that there isn't a set price for the social compensation fee. This means that the fines are chosen based on assumptions, preconceived notions, relationships, and politics. This has led to many people suggesting that there is corruption in determining the fees. In fact, in the 1980s, the Chinese government began imposing these kinds of fees. In 2002, laws related to these fees were issued. According to an explanation from the Chinese government officials, the fine should be regarded as economic compensation to society. This justification is that more children will require more public resources. Although the explanation is not very persuasive to many, the policy has stuck around for decades. Levying the social compensation fee also puts China's family planning departments in a difficult situation. Their prioritized task is to curb population growth. However, in order to match their quota for the social compensation fees, some local authorities even encourage people to have a second child. Because the Chinese government doesn't have a set fee, the officials are able to take liberties in determining the prices. In the Henan province, insiders exposed that some local family planning officials said the fee is about $3,200 for each couple that has a second child. But since the officials did not give a receipt for the fees, this was a violation of national laws. The chaotic situation related to levying the social compensation fee has created a debate on the internet. Some net users hold the view that the fees cannot have any effect on curbing population growth in China. One net user wrote, quote, "In recent years, the news about celebrities' extra births is heard very frequently. It's also common in some poor rural areas. When the family planning policy is carried out mainly through imposing fines, it's not hard to understand why increasing numbers of people dare to violate government policies. The rich are completely able to afford the fines, while the poor never dare to take on the fines." Another net user also commented, quote, "It's time for family planning officials to think about the real purpose of imposing fines. It's at first supposed to be a way to control the population, but now things apparently have changed. The fines were regarded as a major revenue source for some local authorities. Why doesn't the government just end the meaningless policy?" Some other net users also mentioned the issue of human rights related to the family planning policy. One net user complained, quote, "In my view, it's basic human rights for people to make a choice on childbirths. The government could suggest or encourage people to have only one child, but it never has the right to force people to do that, let alone now that the living costs have gotten so high. Many people still are not willing to have a second child, even if the government loosens the one-child policy." Another net user also agreed, quote, "In China, the government even deprived the basic fertility right of people. The most ridiculous thing is that the government cannot stop extra births in rural areas, but has strict control in urban cities. I guess that's the reason for China to be the largest country for rural migrant workers in the world." The Chinese government has a lot of reason to be controlling a fast-growing population, but probably even more reason to be concerned about the decreasing younger demographic. With more old people, there will be a less effective labor force. If they continue the threat of a fine on poor laborers, then China will have trouble keeping up its industries in the future.